Jiwon sat in her office reading Daeho's report for the third time. Each reading made the situation clearer and more dangerous. The Velkari were not their friends. They never had been. Every smile, every offer of help, every promise of protection was a lie designed to get what they really wanted. Hyun entered without knocking, his face grim. "We need to talk, privately." Jiwon activated the security field that blocked all listening devices. "What happened?" "I've been tracking data access in our systems. Someone has been trying to break into the Europa project files. Multiple attempts over the past week, each one getting closer to the classified sections. Can you trace the source?" "That's the problem. It's coming from inside the UN complex. Someone in our own government is working for the Velkari." Jiwon felt her stomach tighten. A spy. Of course the Velkari would have planted someone. They had been on Earth for months, plenty of time to recruit or replace someone in a position of power. "Do you know who it is?" Hyun shook his head. "Not yet. But they're good, very good. They're covering their tracks carefully. I've set up new security protocols, but we need to assume anything in our systems might be compromised. Then we communicate in person only. No electronic records of anything related to the Cheonma." Jiwon stood and walked to the window. The Velkari ships were visible in the night sky, bright dots of light that never moved. Always watching. How long until they realize something is happening on Europa? "I don't know. Days, weeks? Soman has done a good job maintaining the cover story, but if our spy gets through to the real data, then the Velkari will come for the ship." Meanwhile, on Europa, the team had made incredible progress. The Cheonma was almost fully operational. Biol had been spending hours in the captain's chair, experiencing more memories from the ancient pilot. With each session, she understood the ship better, learning to control systems that were designed thousands of years before she was born. "It's like the ship knows me," Biol told Taeyang during a break. "Or like I know it. The memories feel so real. Sometimes I forget which ones are mine and which ones belonged to the original captain." "Is that safe?" Taeyang asked, concerned. "We don't know what kind of psychological effects this might have. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. I understand things I shouldn't be able to understand. When I look at the controls, I just know what they do. The Keeper is teaching me through the memories." Yoonji had established full communication with the Keeper AI. She spent hours in conversation with the ancient intelligence, learning about the old human civilization and the reasons for its fall. "They were amazing," Yoonji told Soman during one of their reports. "They had solved problems we're still struggling with. Disease, aging, energy scarcity. They could live for hundreds of years. They could create planets, terraform worlds in decades instead of centuries. But they were still human, with human flaws. Pride," Soman said, "and fear. The weapon that destroyed them was built because they feared something they might encounter in deep space, something dangerous, but they never found that danger. Instead, they created their own threat." "Did the Keeper tell you what happened to the other human colonies? The ones that weren't Earth?" Yoonji's expression grew sad. "Most of them died out. The technology they left behind wasn't enough to sustain them without the knowledge to use it. A few survived and developed their own civilizations, but they don't remember being human. They evolved differently on their worlds. The Velkari have met some of them without knowing they were originally human." That revelation shook everyone who heard it. Humanity had already returned to the stars, but in form so changed that even they did not recognize themselves. Back on Earth, Daeho made another discovery. He had been analyzing the Velkari survey patterns in the solar system, trying to understand what they were looking for. He noticed they spent a lot of time scanning moons that had subsurface oceans, Europa, Enceladus, Titan. "They know," Daeho told Yuna. "They know the ancient humans would have hidden technology on icy moons. The water and ice would preserve it. They're systematically checking every possible location." "How long before they focus on Europa?" "They've already started. Look at these scan logs. The Velkari sent a detailed survey probe past Europa 2 days ago. They're seeing the same anomalies we saw. It's only a matter of time before they investigate." Yuna immediately sent an alert to Soman. The deadline had just gotten much shorter. Soman called an emergency meeting with her senior team on Europa. "We need to make a decision. The Velkari are getting suspicious. Earth's government is divided on what to do. Some want to reveal the Cheonma and use it as leverage. Others want to keep it hidden and continue studying it. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. What do you recommend?" Hunyo asked. We show them enough to make them back off, but not everything. We demonstrate that we have the ship and some understanding of how it works. But we don't reveal the weapon locations. We don't show them our full capabilities. That's a dangerous game, Taeyang said. If they think we're bluffing, they might attack. If they think we're too powerful, they might call for reinforcements. I know. But it's the only play we have. The decision was made to inform Ji-won and give her the option of revealing the Cheonma during negotiations. But before the message could be sent securely, disaster struck. Kyung, one of Ji-won's most trusted aides, had been working late in the secure communications room. Hyun's security systems flagged unusual activity, and he went to investigate personally. When he entered the room, he found Kyung downloading classified files to a portable device. "Step away from the terminal," Hyun said, his hand on his weapon. Kyung turned slowly, and Hyun saw something in his eyes that confirmed his worst fears. This was not just a human who had been bribed or threatened. There was something fundamentally wrong. "You can't stop what's coming," Kyung said, his voice slightly different from normal. "The Velkari will have what they seek. The progenitor technology belongs to those strong enough to use it." "You're not Kyung, are you?" Hyun said quietly. "What did they do to him?" Kyung volunteered to serve a greater purpose. His mind was copied, modified, and returned. He doesn't even know he's been changed. The perfect spy. Hyun stunned him with a shock weapon and called for security. When doctors examined Kyung, they found a small device implanted at the base of his skull. Velkari technology, designed to transmit everything Kyung saw and heard directly to the alien ships. "How long has he been compromised?" Ji-won asked the doctors. "At least 3 months, possibly longer. He would have had access to almost everything." Then the Velkari know about Europa. They know about the Cheonma. Ji-won felt a cold dread settle over her. "How long do we have?" As if in answer, alarms began sounding throughout the UN complex. Hyun pulled up the sensor feeds and his face went pale. "The Velkari fleet is moving. All 23 ships. They're leaving Earth orbit and setting a course for Jupiter. How long until they reach Europa?" 4 days. "Maybe 5 if we're lucky." Ji-won made her decision instantly. "Get me a secure line to Soman. Tell her to prepare the Cheonma for departure. And get me Ambassador Thelvis. It's time we had an honest conversation." An hour later, Thelvis entered the conference room with his guards. His expression was calm, but Ji-won could see the calculation in his eyes. "You requested this meeting, Ambassador Ji-won. I assume it's about your decision on the Protectorate Agreement." "In a way," Ji-won said. She activated the main screen, which showed a live feed from Europa. The Cheonma was visible, dark metal gleaming in the bright work lights. "We found something. Something you've been searching for." Thelvis leaned forward, his calm exterior cracking slightly. "The progenitor technology. You found a site. We found more than a site. We found a ship. A fully functional ship built by humans over 12,000 years ago. Our ancestors, Ambassador. Not alien progenitors, humans. Impossible. Our records show humans were primitive during that period." "Your records have a gap," Ji-won said coldly. "The same gap that covers the fall of the ancient human civilization. You know exactly what we are. You've known from the beginning. The Protectorate was never about helping us. It was about controlling us while you searched for weapons." Thelvis stood up. "You don't understand what you found. That technology is dangerous. It destroyed the progenitors. It could destroy you too. Maybe. But it's ours, not yours. And if your fleet doesn't change course away from Jupiter, you're going to discover exactly how dangerous human technology can be." The Velkari ambassador stared at her for a long moment, then turned and left without another word. His guards followed quickly. Hyun watched them go. "Do you think he believed you?" "I don't know. But the fleet hasn't changed course, which means we're about to find out if we can actually use the Cheonma as more than a bluff." The Velkari fleet arrived at Jupiter ahead of schedule, catching everyone by surprise. 23 warships, each one capable of destroying cities, moved into position around Europa. Their weapons were charged, their shields active. This was not an exploration mission anymore. This was an invasion force. Soman watched from Europa base as the alien ships formed a blockade. They're not even pretending to be friendly anymore. Taeyang stood beside her, staring at the tactical display. "We need to evacuate. We can't defend against that many ships." "No," Soman said firmly. "We're not running. Get everyone onto the Cheonma. If the Velkari want to see what human technology can do, we'll show them." The base personnel moved quickly, gathering equipment and supplies. The Cheonma's interior had been fully explored by now, and they knew it could hold everyone comfortably. The ship had been designed for long voyages with large crews. Compared to its original purpose, carrying a few dozen humans would be easy. Bial was already in the captain's chair, her hands moving across controls that felt natural despite being thousands of years old. The keeper had taught her well. She understood the ship's systems better than she understood some of Earth's modern spacecraft. All personnel aboard, Yunji reported from her station. Sealing the hatches. Power levels? Bial asked. 93%. The reactor is fully online and stable. Junho monitored the engines from the engineering section. We're ready to fly. But I should warn you, I've never tested these systems under real conditions. We could explode the moment we try to leave Europa. Encouraging, Bial muttered. Keeper, are you ready? The AI's voice filled the bridge. All systems operational. Warning, hostile vessels detected. Recommend defensive protocols. Ambassador Thelvis broadcast a message from his flagship. His face appeared on screens across Europa and on Earth. Humans of the mining base, you are in possession of dangerous technology that you do not understand. Surrender the progenitor ship immediately and we will spare your lives. Refuse and we will take it by force. Jiwan, watching from Earth, opened a communication channel. The ship is not yours to take, Ambassador. It belongs to humanity. It always has. Your species barely understands fire compared to what that ship represents. You will destroy yourselves with it just as the progenitors did. Maybe, Jiwan said. But that's our choice to make, not yours. Thelvis's expression hardened. So be it. You have 1 hour to evacuate. After that, we will destroy Europa if necessary to prevent that ship from leaving. The channel closed. Soman looked at Bial. Can you get us out of here? I can try, but we're still buried in ice. We need to break through 3 kilometers before we reach space. Then break through. Bial took a deep breath and placed her hands on the control interface. The Cheonma responded to her touch like a living thing. The engines hummed to life, building power. The ice around the ship began to crack as heat radiated from the hull. Increasing power to 40%, Bial announced. The ship shuddered. Ice broke away in massive chunks. 60%. The Cheonma began to rise. Slowly at first, then faster. The ice could not hold it. The ship climbed through Europa's frozen crust like it was nothing. Alarms sounded as the Valkyrie detected what was happening. They're targeting us, Yunji reported. Multiple weapon locks. Shields? Bial asked. I'm activating them, Junho said from engineering. But I don't know how strong they are. The Cheonma broke through the surface of Europa in a shower of ice and water. For the first time in 12,000 years, the ancient human ship flew free. Its black hull gleamed in Jupiter's reflected light. On Earth, people watched in awe as the feeds from Europa showed what looked like a mountain rising from the ice. The Valkyrie opened fire immediately. Energy weapons that could melt through steel struck the Cheonma's shields and splashed away like water. The ancient human technology held easily. Shields at 98%, Junho reported, amazed. They're barely scratching us. Thelvis watched in disbelief from his flagship. Increase power. All ships concentrated fire on the progenitor vessel. 23 ships fired at once. The space around the Cheonma lit up with energy. But the shields held. Not just held, but grew stronger, absorbing the energy and reinforcing themselves. That's not possible, a Valkyrie officer said. It's progenitor technology. Thelvis said bitterly. Everything is possible. Jiwan opened another channel, this one broadcasting to the entire solar system and beyond. People of Earth, and members of the Galactic Council who are listening. You're watching the Cheonma, a ship built by our ancestors 12,000 years ago. The Valkyrie told us we were primitive. They told us we needed their protection. They lied. She displayed the historical records recovered from the Cheonma, showing the ancient human civilization at its peak. Ships, cities, colonies spread across the galaxy. Technology that made the Valkyrie look primitive by comparison. Humanity didn't need to be uplifted, Jiwan continued. We needed to remember what we forgot, and now we have. On the Cheonma, Bial felt confidence growing. The ship responded to her thoughts as much as her commands. The keeper guided her, showing her capabilities she had not imagined. We need to demonstrate more than just defense, Soman said quietly. We need to show them we could destroy them if we wanted to. The weapons are active, the keeper announced. Target lock available. Bial hesitated. The memories of the ancient captain flooded through her mind. The wars, the destruction, the regret of using power without wisdom. She understood now why the old civilization had hidden everything. No, Bial said. We're not going to destroy them. We're going to do something else. She activated a different system, one the Keeper had shown her in the memories. The space around the Cheonma rippled. Energy fields extended outward, surrounding Earth and its moon in a massive protective barrier. What is that? Jan demanded from Earth as sensors detected the change. Junho checked his readings in amazement. It's a defensive shield. It's covering the entire planet. Nothing can get through it. The Valkyrie can't attack Earth anymore. Jiwan understood immediately what Biol had done. Not a show of force, but a demonstration of protection. Not we can destroy you, but we can protect ourselves and you can't hurt us. It was a more powerful message than any weapon could send. Thelvis ordered his ships to test the planetary shield. Their most powerful weapons fired at it and were absorbed without effect. The energy didn't even reach Earth's atmosphere. Cease fire, Thelvis said finally. He opened a channel to Jiwan. It seems we need to renegotiate. The negotiations took 3 days. This time they met as equals. The Valkyrie could not threaten Earth. The Cheonma could protect the planet indefinitely, and humans were learning more about their ancient technology every day. We will share what we learn, Jiwan offered. But Earth will remain independent. No protectorate, no control. We join the galactic community as a sovereign power. And the weapon locations? Thelvis asked. The truly dangerous technology? That stays hidden. The Keeper has agreed to share peaceful technology with us, but the weapons will remain secret until humanity proves it's ready. If we're not mature enough to use them wisely, neither is anyone else. Thelvis did not like it, but he had no choice. He agreed to the terms. The Valkyrie fleet withdrew from the solar system, and Earth's status in the galaxy changed forever. Months later, Somin established the Reclamation Initiative. Its purpose was to find and study other sites where ancient humans had hidden their technology. The Cheonma had provided coordinates to dozens of locations across the galaxy. Daeho and Yuna were among the first volunteers for the exploration missions. They would search for ruins and remnants of the old civilization, piecing together the full story of what humanity had been. Taeyang, Yunji, and Haru joined the Cheonma's crew permanently. The ship would be humanity's ambassador to the stars, proof that Earth belonged among the advanced species not through uplift, but through heritage. Biol stood on the bridge of the Cheonma preparing for their first major voyage. The destination was a distant star system, where the Keeper's records indicated another hidden site. What they would find there no one knew. Minha had fully translated the ship's logs now. She understood the story of the ancient humans, their rise and fall, their hope and despair. They left us a legacy, she told Biol before the departure. Not just technology, but a warning. Power without wisdom is destruction. We have to be better than they were. We will be, Biol promised. We learned from their mistakes. We won't repeat them. Jiwan addressed the United Nations one final time before the Cheonma departed. Our ancestors reached the stars and fell from them. They left us their tools but not their knowledge, forcing us to earn it ourselves. They gave us a choice, repeat their mistakes or learn from them. She looked up at the sky where the Cheonma waited in orbit. We choose to learn. We choose to be worthy of our heritage. We return to the stars not as conquerors but as explorers, not with weapons but with wisdom. The Cheonma's engines ignited bright as a new sun. The ship accelerated smoothly, heading out of the solar system toward deep space. Inside, Biol felt the excitement of adventure, the weight of responsibility, and the hope that humanity had finally grown enough to deserve the stars. The ship's systems came alive slowly, like a person waking from a very long sleep. Lights flickered in sequence down the corridors. Screens displayed information in the ancient language that only Minha could partially understand, and through it all the voice continued speaking, calm and patient. Yunji worked frantically at her portable terminal, trying to establish a connection with the ship's computer. It's responding to the power supply, but there's something else. It's like the ship is running its own diagnostics, checking itself after all this time. Can you communicate with it? Solman asked from Europa base, watching everything through the team's camera feeds. I'm trying, but the protocols are completely different from anything we use. It's going to take time. Mina stood in the center of the bridge, turning slowly to take in all the writing on the screens. It's introducing itself. The ship is telling us what it is. She paused, concentrating hard on the unfamiliar words. It says it's called Keeper. Not just the ship, but the intelligence running it. An artificial mind, I think. An AI, Junio said. 12,000 years old? Older, maybe. Mina moved closer to one of the main screens. It's showing a timeline. These symbols here represent thousands of years. And look, it's showing pictures now. The screen's filled with images. Ships like the Cheonma, hundreds of them moving through space. Planets with massive cities. Structures so large they could be seen from orbit. And people, human people wearing clothes that looked both ancient and futuristic, working with technology that made modern Earth look primitive. This was us. Taiyang breathed. This was humanity 12,000 years ago. The images continued. Colonies spreading across the galaxy. Humans living on dozens of worlds. Ships traveling between stars in ways Earth scientists said was impossible. It was a civilization at its peak, powerful and confident. Then the images changed. The screens showed war. Ships fighting each other. Planets burning. The ancient humans were not fighting aliens. They were fighting themselves. Mina translated what she could from the text that appeared alongside the images. There was a weapon. Something they built. It could destroy stars, make them collapse or explode. They argued about using it. Some said it was necessary for defense. Others said it was too dangerous. The images showed the weapon being used. A star flickered and died, taking its planets with it. Billions of lives ended in moments. The human civilization tore itself apart over what came next. Some wanted to destroy all the weapons. Others wanted to keep them. The war spread across the galaxy. They almost destroyed themselves, Junho said quietly. Our ancestors almost made humanity extinct. The final images showed a different scene. The surviving leaders gathered and made a choice. They would hide the dangerous technology. They would scatter across the galaxy. They would give up their advanced civilization and start again on different worlds without the knowledge that had almost killed them. They chose to forget, Mina said. They deliberately gave up everything they had built. They sent groups to different planets and made sure each group would develop slowly, naturally. Earth was one of those planets. Soman's voice came through the radio, tight with emotion. They buried ships like this one. Proof of what we were? Instructions on how to return to the stars, but only when we were ready. Only when we had matured enough not to make the same mistakes. The Keeper's voice spoke again, longer this time. Minya listened carefully, her expression changing from confusion to understanding to shock. What's it saying? Yunji asked. It recognizes us as human. It's been waiting for humans to find it. It says it's our inheritance, our legacy. But it also says... Mina paused, choosing her words carefully. It says the weapons are still hidden. The dangerous technology still exists. The Cheonma has coordinates to the other hiding places. A heavy silence filled the bridge. They all understood what that meant. If Earth could access the ancient weapons, the Valkyrie would no longer be a threat. Humanity could reclaim its place among the stars, not as a primitive species needing protection, but as a power to be feared. But at what cost? We need to fully activate the ship, Soman decided. We need to know everything it can tell us. Unji, how long will it take? Days, maybe weeks. The systems are complex and I don't want to damage anything by rushing. Do it. Hunyo. I want you to study the engines and power systems. Taiyang. Map every centimeter of this ship. Mia, keep translating. I need to know everything about our ancestors and what they left behind. What about the Valkyrie? Taiyang asked. They're still in the solar system. If they detect what we're doing here, we maintain the cover story. This is still just a geological survey. I'm bringing in more security. No one gets near Europa without my authorization. Over the next 3 weeks, the team worked around the clock. More specialists arrived from Earth in small groups, each one sworn to secrecy. A young pilot named Biol was brought in to test the ship's control systems. She had scored higher than anyone else on spatial awareness tests and was considered Earth's best pilot. When Biol first sat in the captain's chair on the bridge, something unexpected happened. The Keeper's voice spoke directly to her, and the screen showed different images. She saw through someone else's eyes, experiencing memories that were not her own. I see a city, Biol said, her voice distant. Massive towers reaching into the sky, ships coming and going, people everywhere. I'm standing on a balcony looking out over it all. She paused. I'm the captain of this ship. I'm about to leave on the final mission. We're going to hide the Cheonma on Europa and put ourselves in sleep. We're going to forget everything. Minha recorded everything Bial said.
Can you see more?
What else do you remember? Sadness. So much sadness. We had everything and threw it away because we couldn't control ourselves. The captain, the person whose memories these are, she's hoping that when humans return to the stars we'll be better. Wiser. Bial opened her eyes, tears running down her face. She's hoping we won't need the weapons. That we'll have learned. Junho made progress with the ship's systems. The technology was incredibly advanced, but the basic principles made sense. The ship used a form of faster-than-light travel that Earth scientists had theorized but never achieved. The power source was some kind of controlled matter-antimatter reaction, stable and efficient. We could power all of Earth with one of these reactors, Junho said in amazement. And this is old technology to them. Imagine what else they knew. Yunji finally managed to fully connect with the Keeper. The AI was sophisticated beyond anything Earth had created. It could think, reason, and even feel emotions in its own way, but it was also programmed with strict limitations. It won't give us the location of the weapons, Yunji reported, not unless humanity meets certain conditions. We have to prove we've matured as a species. The Keeper will judge if we're ready. How do we prove that? Soman asked. I don't know yet. The Keeper is learning about modern humanity by accessing our databases. It's studying our history, our wars, our achievements. It will decide based on what it finds. Meanwhile, Deho back on Earth continued his research into the Velkari databases. He had become obsessed with the gap in their history, the period 8,000 years ago when the records went silent. With Yuna's help, he found fragments of information scattered across different files. Look at this, Deho showed Yuna. The Velkari have a list of forbidden zones, areas of space where travel is prohibited. I cross-referenced the coordinates with star maps. These zones match the locations of ancient human colonies. So they know, Yuna said. They've found ruins of our ancestors' civilization. More than that. I found a classified document, very old. It talks about progenitor technology and the search for its source. The Velkari have been looking for the homeworld of the ancient civilization for thousands of years. And now they've found Earth. Deho nodded slowly. The protectorate offer isn't about helping us. They want access to Earth and the solar system. They want to search for ancient human technology. They think we're too primitive to have any ourselves, so they're trying to take control peacefully. He immediately sent an encrypted message to Jiwon. When she read it, her blood ran cold. The Velkari hadn't come to welcome humanity into the galactic community. They had come to search for weapons that could make them unstoppable. And hidden beneath the ice of Europa, those weapons might already be found. 6 months after the Velkari arrived, Taeyang was having a terrible day. The drilling equipment on Europa had broken down twice already, and the ice was thicker than anyone had predicted. He wiped sweat from his forehead despite the cold environment inside the mining station, and stared at the readings on his screen. This doesn't make sense, he muttered. His assistant, a young engineer named Hana, looked over his shoulder. What's wrong? The density readings. Right here, 3 kilometers down. The ice is different. It's like there's a pocket of something else mixed in with it. Could be a mineral deposit. That's why we're here, right? Taeyang shook his head slowly. Minerals don't show up like this. This looks almost like metal. A lot of metal. The Europa mining operation was one of Earth's most ambitious projects. The moon's subsurface ocean might contain resources that Earth desperately needed, especially now with the Velkari watching everything. The project had continued despite the alien presence, though everyone wondered how long Earth would control its own operations. Taeyang made a decision. Change the drilling angle. I want to see how far this anomaly extends. 3 days of careful drilling revealed something impossible. The metallic readings formed a massive shape buried in the ice. It was not a natural formation. The proportions were too regular, too deliberate. Taeyang sent an encrypted message to Earth Space Agency, marking it urgent. Soman, the director of the space agency, arrived at Europa within a week aboard the fastest ship Earth possessed. She was a stern woman in her 50s, who had spent her entire career pushing humanity toward the stars. When she saw the scan results, her hands trembled slightly. How big is it? She asked Taeyang. At least 2 kilometers long. Maybe more. The ice makes it hard to get exact measurements. And you're certain it's artificial? Absolutely certain. Director, this is a structure. Maybe a building, maybe a vehicle. But someone built it. Solomon stared at the scans for a long moment. The Velkari can't know about this. Not yet. Set up a perimeter. Tell everyone this is a geological survey. No communications off-world except through me personally. The excavation began immediately. Teams of specialists arrived from Earth on supply ships. Each one told they were investigating a unique ice formation. The Velkari were suspicious but accepted the explanation. They had little interest in Europa anyway, focusing their attention on the gas giants. Minha arrived 2 months into the excavation. She was a cryptolinguist, someone who specialized in decoding unknown languages and symbols. When Somin showed her the first exposed section of the structure, Minha's eyes widened. "Is that writing?" Somin asked, pointing to marks on the dark metal surface. Minha moved closer, her breath fogging in the cold air of the excavation chamber. The metal was black and smooth, untouched by the ice that had surrounded it for millennia. Strange symbols ran along its surface in neat rows. "It's writing," Minha confirmed, "but I've never seen anything like it. The structure is unusual. See how these marks curve? And these straight lines here? It's almost like what? Like a very old form of human writing. Ancient Chinese or Korean, maybe, but different, evolved." Minha touched the surface gently. "How old did you say this structure is?" "Initial dating suggests over 10,000 years. Maybe 12,000? That's impossible. Humans didn't have this kind of technology 12,000 years ago. We were barely building simple settlements." "I know," Somin said quietly. "That's why we need you to figure out what this says." As the excavation continued, more of the structure was revealed. It was definitely a ship. The shape was streamlined and elegant, designed to move through space or atmosphere. There were what looked like engines, weapons ports, and sensor arrays. Every surface was covered in the strange writing. Junho, a physicist, examined the ship's power systems with growing excitement. "This technology is incredible. These conduits are made from materials we can't even produce. And look at this core chamber. I think this was some kind of reactor, but the principles, I don't understand how it works." Yunji, a systems analyst, was equally amazed by the ship's computer systems. "It's all intact. Frozen, but intact. If we can power this up, we might be able to access data, learn who built this and why it's here." 3 months after the discovery, Minha made her breakthrough. She had been working 18-hour days, comparing the ship's symbols to every known language in human history. Late one night, exhausted and frustrated, she tried something different. She compared the symbols to proto-languages, the theoretical ancestors of modern language families. "Oh my God," she whispered. She ran to wake Somin, who had been sleeping in a nearby module. "Director, I figured it out." "I know what the writing is." Somin sat up quickly. "Tell me, it's human. The language on that ship is human. It's a predecessor to several Earth languages. Korean, Japanese, Mongolian, even some Native American languages. They all trace back to this root language." "That's impossible. How could a ship buried on Europa for 12,000 years have human writing?" Minya's hands shook as she held up her datapad. "There's only one explanation. Humans built this ship. Our ancestors, thousands of years before recorded history, had the technology to reach Europa. Maybe to reach the stars." The implications hit Somin like a physical blow. She sat down heavily on the bunk. "If this is true, if humans once had this technology, then the Velkari, they're not more advanced than us. They're just more advanced than we are now." Minna's voice was filled with wonder and fear. "Director, what happened to us? Why did we forget we could do this?" Somin stood up and began pacing. "We need to access that ship's computers. We need to know everything. But we have to be careful. If the Velkari find out about this, they'll either take it from us or destroy it. Why would they destroy it? Because it proves they lied. They told us we were primitive. They offered us a protectorate because we needed their protection. But if we once had technology like this, then maybe we don't need them at all." The teams worked even harder after Minha's discovery. They cleared ice from what they believed was the main entrance. The door was sealed tight, protected by some kind of mechanism that had survived millennia of cold. Junyo studied it carefully. "I think I can open it," he said finally. "But once I do, we need to be ready. There might be atmosphere inside. There might be anything." Somin assembled a team. Taiyang would enter first, being the most experienced with Europa's conditions. Minya would accompany him to read any writing they found. Yunji would connect portable power supplies to any systems they discovered. The door opened with a hiss of escaping gas. Ancient air, frozen for thousands of years, crystallized in the cold. Taeyang stepped inside, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. "I'm in," he reported. "The interior is intact. There's no ice. The ship must have been sealed before the ocean froze around it." They moved through dark corridors, their lights revealing chambers and equipment that looked both alien and familiar. Everything was designed for humans. The chairs fit human proportions. The controls seemed built for human hands, but the technology was far beyond anything modern Earth could produce. They reached what appeared to be the bridge. Large screens covered the walls, all dark. A central chair faced forward with control panels on either side. Maya found more writing here. Longer passages that seemed like instructions or logs. "Can you read it?" Someone asked over the radio. "Some of it. It's like reading Old English when you know modern English. I can get the general meaning." Mina moved her light across the symbols. "This is a name. The ship's name. It says Cheonma, the Heavenly Horse." Yunji connected her portable power supply to what looked like an access port. For a moment, nothing happened. Then lights began to flicker on across the bridge. The screens lit up one by one, displaying symbols in the ancient language, and then a voice spoke. It was human, but it spoke words that no living person had heard in 12,000 years. Mina listened carefully, her eyes wide. "What's it saying?" Taeyang asked. Mina's voice was barely a whisper. "It says welcome home." The sleek alien ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like silver teardrops, their hulls reflecting sunlight in ways that seemed impossible. People across the world stopped what they were doing and stared upward. Some felt wonder, others felt fear. After centuries of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. Ji-won stood in the conference room at the United Nations headquarters, watching the landing through the massive windows. She adjusted her jacket and took a deep breath. As Earth's chief diplomat, the weight of this moment pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. Behind her, military strategist Hyun paced back and forth, his hands clasped behind his back. "They're landing in Geneva," Hyun said quietly. "3 ships. Our satellites counted 20 more in orbit." "I know," Ji-won replied. She had read all the reports. She had studied every scan and analysis. The alien vessels used technology Earth could barely understand. Their smallest ship could probably destroy an entire city if they wanted to. The aliens called themselves the Valkyrie. They had sent a message 3 days before their arrival, translated into multiple Earth languages through some kind of advanced computer system. The message was polite but firm. They came in peace. They came to welcome humanity into the galactic community. They came to help. Ji-won did not trust help that arrived with warships. The first meeting took place in a specially prepared chamber. Ambassador Thelvis entered the room with 4 guards. The Valkyrie were tall, nearly 7 feet, with pale blue skin and 3 fingers on each hand. Their eyes were large and dark, and they wore robes that shimmered with changing colors. Thelvis moved with the confidence of someone who had done this many times before. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Thelvis said through a translation device attached to his collar. "We bring you the welcome of the Galactic Council. You are no longer alone in the universe." Ji-won stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture she hoped would show respect without submission. "We are honored by your visit, Ambassador Thelvis. Earth welcomes you." The Valkyrie's expression was hard to read, but Ji-won thought she detected something like amusement in his eyes. Over the next several hours, Thelvis explained the galactic situation. Thousands of species existed across the galaxy. They traded, communicated, and followed laws established by the Galactic Council. The Valkyrie were among the oldest and most powerful members of this council. "And where does humanity fit in this structure?" Ji-won asked. Thelvis gestured with one 3-fingered hand. "That is what we must discuss. We have studied your world from orbit. Your technology is, developing. You have barely reached your neighboring planets. Your energy systems are primitive. Your weapons are chemical-based. By galactic standards, you are at least 500 years behind." Ian's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Ji-won kept her expression neutral. "We offer you a protectorate agreement," Thelvis continued. "The Valkyrie Empire will guide your development. We will share some technology. We will protect you from hostile forces. In exchange, Earth will join the Empire as a client world. You will have representation, but major decisions will be made by the Empire Council." "You mean Earth would not be independent?" Hyun said, speaking for the first time. "You would be protected," Thelvis corrected. Independence is a luxury that primitive worlds cannot afford. The galaxy is dangerous. There are species that would enslave or destroy you. Under our protection, humanity will survive and eventually thrive. Jiwan smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. We will need time to consider your generous offer. Of course, Thelva said. We are not unreasonable. You have one Earth year to decide. We will remain in your system and answer any questions you may have. After the Velkari delegation left, Hian slammed his fist on the table. They're treating us like children. A protectorate? That's just slavery with better words. I know, Jiwan said quietly. But we can't fight them, not yet. We need to learn everything we can about them and the galaxy. That task fell to Daiho, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist. He had studied ancient civilizations his entire life, and now he faced the ultimate challenge, understanding alien cultures. The Velkari had shared some historical databases as a gesture of goodwill. Daiho spent weeks diving into the information, assisted by his colleague Yuna. It's fascinating, Daiho said one evening, his eyes red from staring at screens. The Velkari have records going back 12,000 years. They've contacted hundreds of primitive species. Most accepted the protectorate. Those who refused were either conquered or isolated. Yuna looked up from her own terminal. Have you found any mention of humans? Any previous contact with Earth? Nothing. As far as their records show, we're a completely new discovery. That's odd, isn't it? Yuna said. They've explored so much of the galaxy. How did they miss Earth until now? Daiho frowned. I don't know, but there's something else strange. Look at this. He brought up a timeline of galactic history. See this period here? About 8,000 years ago. There's almost no information, just a note about the silence and some references to forbidden zones. Forbidden zones? Areas of space that are off limits to all species. No explanation why. Daiho leaned back in his chair. It's probably nothing. Ancient history. But it bothers me. Why would an empire that keeps such detailed records have a gap like this? Yuna saved the information to a separate file. Maybe we should keep looking into it. Meanwhile, Earth's governments debated the Velkari offer. Some nations wanted to accept immediately, eager for alien technology. Others wanted to refuse, preferring independence over survival. The arguments grew heated as the months passed. Jiwan attended meeting after meeting, listening to the same arguments repeated in different words. She understood both sides. If Earth refused, the Velkari might simply take what they wanted by force. If Earth accepted, humanity would lose control of its own future. Hian was more direct in his assessment. They're scouting us, he told Jiwan during a private meeting. Notice how their ships have been scanning our entire solar system? They're mapping everything. Looking for resources. Looking for weaknesses, I've noticed, Jiwan said. They're particularly interested in the outer planets. They've sent survey teams to Jupiter and Saturn's moons. Mining opportunities, probably. Once we're part of their protectorate, they'll strip mine the solar system and we won't be able to stop them. Jiwan stared out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Velkari watched and waited. They seemed so advanced, so powerful. But Daiho's discovery nagged at her mind. Why was there a gap in their history? What were the forbidden zones? What had happened 8,000 years ago? She did not know it yet, but the answers to those questions would change everything. Hidden beneath the ice of a distant moon, something waited. Something old. Something that would prove the Velkari were not the most advanced beings who had ever crossed the stars. Something human.